When my family found out I was rich, everything changed. Suddenly, the craziest demands started coming from various relatives. My sister-in-law, the queen of demands, wants me to pay $35,000 for her vacation. $35,000. She declared, with a greedy smile that made me gulp. After all, you can afford it, can't you? This is after I had already paid off the mortgage on her house, set up a college fund for her kids, and financed a trip for the whole family. And now, here we are, with increasingly outrageous requests. I was speechless. How could she ask for that after everything I had already done? And then other relatives started making absurd demands. That was when I realized I needed to set boundaries. I'm not going to let them dictate what I should do with my money. I'm going to show them that I'm not an ATM and I can't be the solution to all their problems and desires.
Hey guys, welcome to our channel.
To start, I'm a 46-year-old woman, married and a mother of 3 preteens. In recent years, I've been fortunate enough to come into a considerable sum of money, the result of years of hard work in a well-paying field and some smart investments that finally began to pay off. My husband and I never had a prenuptial agreement, so naturally, I see this money as ours. When the first significant amount hit my account, it was a surreal moment. After all, it was something we had only discussed theoretically until recently. We decided to invest in security and comfort for our family. We paid off the mortgage, bought a new car, and acquired a bigger, nicer home, as well as our dream vacation getaway, which we rent out to a lovely family for most of the year. We also made sure to secure our children's future. We set up college funds for them, each with an equal amount designed to cover at least 5 years of higher education. Any leftover money can be used by them as a down payment for their own house or apartment in the future. Now, we're living a new reality. A reality of comfort, but also of new challenges and dilemmas. As more money started to come in due to my successful investments, I found myself facing a sea of possibilities to help my family and create a positive impact on their lives. My husband has 2 sisters, and together we have 5 nieces and nephews. We decided that each of them would have a college fund, with the same generous amount we allocated for our own children, under strict stipulations to ensure that everything is used efficiently and transparently. One of my older nieces had already started college, so I fully covered the costs her parents had incurred, ensuring she could finish her studies in 4 years. With leftover money, I enlisted the help of a very close accountant to figure out how I could benefit my brother and one of my sisters-in-law regarding their mortgages, taking on most of their outstanding payments. My parents were blessed with a well-deserved trip, having their mortgages paid off, and the same applied to my in-laws and another sister-in-law, whose rent was subsidized to ease her monthly expenses. Part of the funds I generated was allocated to charity causes, both locally and internationally, reflecting my desire to give back to the community. Additionally, I set up college funds for the children of our closest friends and family, seeing this as an investment in the future of the next generations. With my husband by my side, we enjoyed a well-deserved break on shared vacations with our extended family and friends, all grateful for the generosity I could provide. This journey of prosperity has brought not only material comfort but also a deep sense of fulfillment in seeing the positive impact our money can have on the lives of those we love and those in need. I learned that with great resources comes the responsibility to use them in ways that benefit not only our family but also the community around us. However, one of my sisters-in-law always seems to need to be the center of attention. If it's not her, it's her children who must take the spotlight. I notice this clearly, even when she smiles at me, as I know that behind the curtains, she has been speaking ill of me and everything I have accomplished. Her passive-aggressive comments about my work and myself are subtle but piercing. She has a unique ability to throw out insinuations that put me in an uncomfortable position, always avoiding direct confrontation. It even seems like a well-rehearsed strategy to disarm me, but I've learned not to fall for that trap. In recent years, her suggestions about what I should do with my money have intensified. The latest? A luxurious all-inclusive trip for her and her family at a resort abroad. The reason? Money they originally saved for their children's college funds, which ended up being poorly managed after the pandemic. During the pandemic, she was strangely quiet, but now that the restrictions are being lifted, everything has returned to normal. Recently, she organized a birthday party for her son, who genuinely wanted to celebrate his special day. We didn't make a fuss, we just showed up with a gift for both, trying to keep the family peace. The birthday boy received a voucher to buy a tent or camping gear, exactly what he wanted. My sister-in-law, in turn, received a flexible voucher to use as she pleased, to which I added some helpful items like sunscreen and drinks to assist her in planning her much-desired vacation. However, what she doesn't know is that my financial decisions are not guided by emotional blackmail. This is a journey where mutual respect and balance are key, and I am determined to maintain this stance, no matter what happens. My sister-in-law has always had a peculiar way of turning any casual conversation into a disguised request. When she asked about our vacation plans, we cautiously replied that we planned to stay within our country, booking a cozy cabin for a week of simple rest, away from luxury but still requiring cooking and grocery shopping. She reacted with exaggerated enthusiasm, commenting on how that routine sounded nice. However, while we were still discussing possibilities, she started throwing out ideas about what we could do, suggesting places where our family could stay or activities the kids might enjoy. Suddenly, she showed something she found online, an amazing all-inclusive resort with a water park for the kids and a sensory spa for children. It looked wonderful, not exactly luxurious, but definitely appealing. But then came the punchline: the total price for a family was an outrageous $35,000. My husband, ever the pragmatist, remarked that it was a lot of money, but she responded with an unexpected suggestion: "Oh, I know you have money, so I thought it could be my birthday present." The audacity of the insinuation caught me off guard. She was expecting me to shell out $35,000 as a birthday present just because I had the money. It was as if my having significant resources automatically meant I should finance her whims. As I tried to process this brazen demand, I realized that this situation was not just about money. It was about boundaries, respect, common sense, and the delicate balance between helping loved ones and being used as an ATM. This was a moment to set clear boundaries, no matter how uncomfortable that might be. This was the crossroads where my new financial reality collided with much deeper issues of family relationships. And so, the decision I was making was not just about money but about the kind of family dynamics I wanted to cultivate in the future. It was one of those moments when the air seems to freeze, and all words turn to stone. We were all gathered to celebrate my dear godson's birthday, and the atmosphere was light and festive. The family was spread out across the room, the little ones playing excitedly while conversations flowed among laughter and banter. But then, without warning, the atmosphere shifted. Between one conversation and another, the unexpected suggestion arose: "You have the money, you could just give it," my sister-in-law said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Those words, spoken so casually, cut through the air like a sharp knife. I knew she had a peculiar way of showing her disdain for my work, but this time, it was different. It was as if she was challenging not only my position but also my integrity. My husband started laughing, thinking it was a joke, but the silence that followed made it clear it was not. My father-in-law, always reserved, simply watched with an inscrutable expression as I struggled to find the right words. And to say the full phrase, I finally managed to articulate, feeling the weight of the situation. She didn't want to hear it, but I needed her to understand. It was about more than money, it was about mutual respect and recognition for what I did. And then came the flood of rehearsed arguments, the reasons why, we all deserve, and, you won't even miss it. It was an argument she repeated whenever she wanted something, a tactic I knew all too well. My sister-in-law tried to seem sweet, as she always did when she wanted to manipulate the situation to her advantage. It was a delicate dance she had mastered so well. I took a deep breath, regaining my composure. "The fact is we're a family," I said calmly. That I wouldn't back down from my position. It wasn't about the money but about principle. We were a family, yes, but I couldn't allow us to be manipulated this way. The rest of the night passed in a blur of forced smiles and sharp little remarks that floated through the air. Deep down, I knew that things would never be the same between us. However, for the love of my husband and our family, I was willing to face whatever came my way. Because, after all, loving a family didn't mean giving up who I was. My heart raced as the words exploded in the room, each one heavy with years of frustration and resentment. My sister-in-law continued to vent, complaining about how she thought I should pay for it.
"Listen," I said, trying to remain calm as our gazes met in a silent duel. "You have shown many times that you don't respect me or my line of work. You don't respect the fact that I worked hard and made sacrifices to earn this money. I've paid your mortgage, your children's college tuition, and even given you some money." My voice trembled slightly, but I needed to make it clear. This wasn't just about money, it was about dignity and recognition. The room was tense, my father-in-law joining the discussion with a serious look as my sister-in-law tried to interrupt. "You talk badly about me, insult me, and even told people that my husband should divorce me," I continued, the words weighing heavily in the air. My sister-in-law tried to deny it, my brother-in-law called me a liar, but I knew the truth was clear to anyone willing to see. "Your own children can tell their dad they heard it," I said, my voice gaining strength as painful memories resurfaced. "My mom says horrible things about Auntie," said the birthday boy, who even recorded a conversation while making a TikTok video. The silence that followed was deafening, with only distant street noises penetrating through the open window. My sister-in-law realized her attempts to steer the conversation wouldn't work this time, while my brother-in-law remained silent, perhaps reflecting on his own actions. It was a confrontation I had long awaited, a necessary reckoning for things to change. As I looked around the room, facing incredulous and uncomfortable gazes, I knew that the expensive vacation my sister-in-law so desperately wanted was no longer the main issue. It was about us as a family and the respect we all deserved. It was as if a storm had finally burst upon us. My sister-in-law, realizing her manipulation attempts were futile, changed tactics. With a forced smile, she said, "Fine, they won't pay for this holiday. The least you can do is cover the airfare and let us stay at your vacation home." I remembered how I rented that house to a local family for most of the year due to the pandemic. They needed to stay there since they couldn't travel for fear of COVID. "That's not happening," I replied firmly. "First, there's a family staying there right now. Secondly, I won't be yielding to demands about the voucher I gave you, which actually has a generous amount you can use however you want. Maybe for your holiday trip, who knows?" My voice trembled with frustration and fatigue. "You already have a vacation you can afford, and if you want more money, get a job that pays better. You have a degree, after all," I continued, feeling each word weigh like a stone. My sister-in-law began to protest, but her father, who had remained silent until then, turned to her. "I understand," he said, surprising everyone by supporting me. "I know how hard she works and the sacrifices she and my son have made." My husband, already on edge, could not contain his anger. "That's not happening," he said directly to his sister, with a tone that brooked no discussion. "We're leaving." With that, we gathered the kids, packed our things, and left. Later, we received a call from my mother-in-law, trying to smooth things over. She started her standard speech about how hard it was for them before I came on the scene, how I helped them financially, etc. My husband handled her impeccably, clearly explaining our boundaries and expectations. After a long conversation, she finally seemed to understand. Now, looking back on those moments, I can only laugh. Not out of joy, but from relief mixed with a touch of irony. Because sometimes, family life can be more complicated than any movie script. Apparently, my sister-in-law's children were furious about the maneuver she tried to pull and went into full rebellion mode. We managed to have a frank conversation. I explained to them that we didn't blame them for their parents' actions. I discussed the reasons why we didn't distribute money freely, despite having already given them initial gifts. The younger ones seemed inclined to side more with their mom and dad, but the older ones showed understanding. They knew about the generous college and housing funds. Then came other family members criticizing us because my sister-in-law had messaged them. However, a simple Facebook post from the birthday boy featuring a video of my sister-in-law talking badly about me put an end to that. The family reacted against my sister-in-law and her husband, and they were not invited to certain events. We received apologies, but some told me they had difficulty because they understood both her and me. The only thing that bothers me is the fact that my in-laws are caught in the middle, especially my mother-in-law, who is very family-oriented. Returning to the family, I know some of you may be wondering why I didn't just give the money. One reason is how she treated me even before I had money. Another reason is that I simply feel uncomfortable distributing money without consideration. My sister-in-law was extremely disappointed and angry that I hadn't given in to all her whims and demands to pay for expensive vacations. Initially, my sister-in-law resisted but eventually came to understand our position and left us alone. Unfortunately, the whole family. Here, the narrative seems incomplete. Could you tell me how I can help? On my husband's side, now that everyone knows we have a bank account with a lot of money, things started getting complicated. My sister-in-law called several relatives to spread the news, and soon they were all talking amongst themselves and with their children. Some aunts and cousins began to feel it was unfair for me to pay for college funds for some cousins and to have financed a vacation trip for my family. One day, my phone rang while I was folding laundry at home. It was my aunt and uncle, so I put the phone on speaker. We started exchanging experiences about how we were dealing with the recent situation until the conversation took an unexpected turn. "Hey, we heard you set up college funds for some of the children of certain cousins. Is that true?" they asked directly. "Yes, that's true," I replied, trying to stay calm. Then they continued, "Is it true that you took your sister-in-law, your father-in-law, your mother-in-law, and your other sister-in-law on a vacation trip?" "Yes, we did take a trip, but why do you need to know that?" I asked, starting to feel uncomfortable with the direction the conversation was taking. "Well, we deserve it too. We want you to pay college funds for our 6 grandchildren, each with $800,000. Additionally, we want a vacation home like yours, but in a different location. We already have a location in mind, so we'll send you the information," they said firmly. I was silent, stunned by their demands. They continued complaining, claiming they deserved it because we were family and family takes care of each other. As they spoke, my husband, who was listening to everything, began to visibly get irritated. I decided to take action and pressed a record button in the middle of the conversation, asking them to repeat their demands. Finally, I cut the conversation off, telling them clearly that it wouldn't happen. "You might think you have a right to my money, but that's not what we heard when we needed help," I reminded them. I vividly remember the time we were going through financial difficulties due to a health scare, and only 3 of the 9 aunts and uncles helped us. They lent us money, and we made sure to pay it back. It's each person's responsibility to save enough for their family's well-being and education. If you can't, then you don't deserve it. "We're not giving money for that," I stated firmly. I hung up the phone, feeling a mix of relief and indignation. My husband was proud of how we handled the situation in the following weeks, especially when some aunts, uncles, and cousins called to support our position. Those who truly helped us in our time of need told us that the money was ours and that we shouldn't give in to further demands. Later, a cousin even called asking for a certified loan for a down payment on a house, something we considered more sympathetically given the circumstances. He was about to realize one of his biggest dreams, buying his own home. They had saved most of the necessary money, but still needed $100,000 to complete the payment. I lent it to him, and some time later, he started to pay me back religiously. My family continued with absurd demands, knowing that I helped a cousin buy his house. So, I organized a Zoom call with my aunts, uncles, and cousins. I explained to them my reasons for not being able to help financially at that moment. I said they could always count on me when they truly needed financial assistance, but it should be done under legal contracts so that neither party felt cheated. One of my cousins, who had borrowed money from me before, even showed the notarized certificate from the previous loan. They seemed to understand my position but were not completely happy. However, they knew they could count on me when they really needed it. But this wasn't enough for them. Last week, on an ordinary day, I came home to an unexpected scene, many cars parked on a street that is usually almost empty. I had to pass my house and park elsewhere. There were about 15 to 20 aunts, uncles, and cousins gathered in the front yard. Few people know, but don't mess with me. My right hook is famous for being painful. As I walked back, I called the non-emergency line of the local police department, explaining the situation and warning them that things might get out of control. They said they would send over some officers. When I entered, people started shouting, cursing, and demanding that I pay for their insane requests, threatening that I would pay one way or another. They cornered me, poking their fingers near my face, chest, and arms. I asked several times for them to stop, but it was no use. Some neighbors also called the police, and by the time the officers arrived, the situation was tense. Then, one of my uncles made a big mistake. A man about 6 feet 3 inches slapped me. I, a woman who is only 4 feet 11 inches, was face to face with him in front of the police. He started complaining that I should obey him as one of the elders of the family, with his hand raised as if to slap me again. I didn't wait for him to finish his speech. I punched him, knocking him to the ground. He wasn't knocked out, but he was pretty shaken and dazed. That's what the police needed to take action. The relatives were shocked, and the officers managed to separate them from me. Some aunts, uncles, and cousins ran to their cars and took the rest away. They met with very angry police officers and faced the possibility of being sued. The security cameras at my house recorded everything, and the footage will be used as evidence, as the images are now in the hands of the police. I'm fine, with a few injured fingers, while my uncle ended up with a broken cheekbone. Since I decided not to distribute my money as some expected, many have distanced themselves, upset with me. It seems that my position is no longer mine, it is shaped by veiled threats and constant emotional harassment. Honestly, I feel an enormous weight for being at the center of all this. It's maddening. How is it possible that, even with a meticulously planned financial operation to benefit everyone, there are still such bitter disagreements? Everyone seems to have an endless list of demands, as if money and goodwill were infinite. It seems I am dividing our family just because I decided to maintain control over the money that my husband and I worked so hard to earn. However, some relatives didn't understand my position and even tried to intimidate me. I'm exhausted from all of this. Sometimes I feel like an idiot for wanting to protect what we have earned. It's ironic how money can change such close relationships. The plan I put together included paying the mortgage, securing the children's college education, and even providing for them in the future. It seemed like a bulletproof plan to secure our family's future. And now I find myself confronted with a crucial choice: how to use this money without destroying what remains of family ties. How to avoid falling into the trap of being used without being respected. These are questions that echo in my mind, demanding an answer that doesn't seem to be in sight. My husband insists that the money we earned is the result of his hard work, and we have every right to decide how it is spent. He scheduled a consultation with a lawyer to find out if we can legally stop these demands. He said he has experience in these cases, and the demands won't stop unless we cut off contact. The lawyer instructed us to gather all the evidence we had, recorded conversations, videos, messages, and to separate the evidence by each relative who had harassed us, including my sister-in-law. He is drafting a document that will include the civil equivalent of a restraining order. The document, extrajudicial, includes a no-contact clause. If any of them show up where my husband or I are, they must leave immediately. No contact, by any means, including messages or phone calls. Furthermore, non-compliance would lead to a lawsuit for harassment, emotional distress, and attorney's fees. The document was sent by notice of receipt, meaning each of them should sign that they received the message. What a wonder! 2 months of peace and quiet, no demands, no intimidation, no threats. And did we live happily ever after in pure peace? Of course not. My insane sister-in-law, ignoring the legal notice in the document sent by the lawyer, decided it was time to bother us. She sent a huge email criticizing our decisions and the documents sent by the lawyer, and once again demanded her exorbitant vacations. And then a long speech about family, that family must help each other, and blah blah blah. I didn't respond and forwarded the email to our lawyer, who filed a lawsuit as stated in the extrajudicial document. Result:
There are invisible scars that shape lives. Abuse steals your peace, but not your strength. Breaking the Cycle of Abuse is an interactive guide where you'll find powerful tools to identify the signs of abuse, understand the dynamics of violence, find shelter and legal and psychological support, plan a safe exit from a harmful environment, overcome trauma and rebuild your self-esteem. Start your journey of healing and transformation now for just $9.60.
She will have to do community service, pay attorney's fees, and compensate us for emotional distress. Now she is quiet, in her place. No communication with us. It was good for others to see that they cannot disregard the order we gave because there will be consequences. Now, yes. Peace forever.
Want more mysteries, twists, and exciting moments? So you can't miss this video. Click now and continue this journey of fascinating stories. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any news. Leave your comments and see you next time.